Hey, this is Sam Henninger with Hen House Coaching, where we believe you can build a business that builds your marriage instead of tears it down. I wanted to share some thoughts while I'm out on my walk with our little girl Ruby about the hero's journey and the heroine's journey and how that relates to our own relationships, both to our spouse and to ourselves, and to how we operate entrepreneurially as we build our businesses and build our careers. So I've been learning a lot recently about the hero's journey. There's been a lot written about it. It's referred to as the monomyth because this same cycle of storytelling shows up across time and across cultures. And so there's been a lot of study done on what it is exactly and why it seems to be so powerful and so long lasting. And one of the issues, maybe not an issue, but one of the things that is becoming more pressing today as far as storytelling goes and with writers is they're trying to find a way to better express what the heroine's journey might be. And it's not just the hero's journey but with a female protagonist. And I can talk more in depth about what the hero's journey entails and how it differs from what others have written about and spoken about the heroine's journey. There are different proposed stages to the heroine's journey, and it's evolved over time. But I wanted to share how this relates to couples and to you individually as a member of a couple. And I think most fundamentally, I've narrowed it down to these three very basic questions that the hero and the heroine ask themselves and they seek answers to. And this is what puts them on their journey. And this is what makes it compelling for us to listen to stories and how that might apply to our own lives and how we can see ourselves in these heroic characters. And so I've narrowed it down to something like this at this point in my thinking. The hero, he first asks himself, what am I made of? He asks himself, what am I made of? And then when he's answered that, he asks, is that enough? Is what I'm made of enough? And then thirdly, he asks, if not, can I change? So those are the three sequential questions I've identified so far in the hero's journey, in a masculine journey of life and in a story that is integral to the hero changing and becoming the hero. And the heroine's journey is similar but very distinct because it's less of becoming the hero and more of realizing she is heroic. So that is to say, the three questions I've narrowed it down to so far is first asking, who am I? Who am I? And then secondly asking, is that okay? Is it okay to be me? And then thirdly, where is my place? Now that I know who I am, now that I know it's okay to be me, where do I fit? Where's my place? And so, just thinking about those things, as I've explained, you see that from the masculine and the feminine perspective, we each engage in heroic narratives in our own lives, and we get inspired by other stories that we identify with and that we appreciate. That helps us think about these questions. For the hero, it's, what am I made of? Is that enough? And after I've identified whether or not it's enough, If no, which usually that's the case, it's, do I have the power to change? Which, for heroic stories, instead of tragic stories, it's almost always yes. You may not be enough, but you do have power to change. For the heroine, it's more about not taking the external cues in your life as the final judgment of your identity. It's about finding yourself. And I've seen a lot of movies in the last few years where they sort of mix the two, which they mix the two framing questions and stages of journeys, which I think is inappropriate. I think there's a very unique and distinct journey for the heroines. And for the most part, either masculine or feminine has a tough time understanding the other. And so when you think about your relationships, and you think about the roles you're playing and the challenges you're facing while building a marriage and building a business or whatever project you may have going on right now, you can think about, how can I link this to a heroic narrative? What can I learn about myself right now? Or how can these questions, if they're right, if they're authentic and true to my experience right now, how can I use that to empower me to the next level, to the next step? And so I wanted to bring that up because I think it's very important for us to see, not in a really simplistic way about the differences between men and women, masculine and feminine, but to acknowledge the depth and richness of the differences of these perspectives and core motives. So I want you to think about and consider in your own life, which part of my journey am I on? And just to preface that, actually, I want to make it clear that masculine and feminine does not mean male and female. We are each masculine and feminine, but in different proportions. And so that's why it's important for us to find balance within ourselves and balance within our partnership as a couple. Not only that, I mean, you can have a conversation, talk about it in terms of a business culture. If you're at that stage of being conscious of what kind of business culture do you want to create. There's a lot of talk now about creating more collaborative workspaces, which is fundamentally a feminine virtue, a feminine pursuit. And so, do you want to go 100% on leading through collaboration? What kind of balance, what kind of ratio do you think is most healthy for who you are? What kind of ratio do you think is most healthy, not just in your business, but in yourself? Are you polarizing each other by insisting on one kind of perspective? Is it mostly the masculine perspective, or is it mostly the feminine? The trouble you may find, or at least I've found in my relationship at times, is because the masculine is naturally more assertive, which is good. If unchecked, it tramples over the feminine. And so it's good to be aware that sometimes the first domino that needs to fall in terms of strengthening or healing a relationship is to temporarily or initially dial back on masculine perspective and allow the feminine its space. I will say, however, being typically the masculine voice in my relationship, that while that is probably necessary most of the time initially to allow the feminine to open up and feel safe and secure, it's also important for the feminine to be challenged in an appropriate way and to encourage an aspect of masculinity to be expressed and embodied in the feminine. So, all this to say, consider how your life right now could be brought into a heroic perspective. And consider characters in your life or people in your life that embody some of these virtues, these heroic virtues, whether they be masculine or feminine. Because in the end, we want to be integrated. We want to be balanced in our masculinity and femininity as individuals, as a couple, as a family, as your family grows, and as a business. We need both. And so, yes, consider where I may be missing something. This, of course, is just a snippet of what I've been thinking about recently. And let's expand the conversation, because I'm interested in hearing how you've digested these thoughts and interested to see what you have to add to the conversation. So, to summarize, we would do well to incorporate more heroic self-talk. And not just self-talk, but talk within our partnership as a couple. If we can see ourselves and see our partner as heroic figures in our own and each other's story, we can better support them. But it's important for us to understand, along with that we're on different journeys, though equally heroic. We ask different questions and seek different answers, though equally important. So, again, one last time, to say right now my current thoughts on this whole thing. The hero fundamentally has to find the answers to these questions. What am I made of? Is that enough? And if not, can I change? And the heroine asks, fundamentally, who am I? Is that okay? And where is my place? So when those questions can be answered, wholeness, the cycle renews. You get to the next level. This is the experience we want regularly. We want to feel engaged in this kind of narrative in our life. So leave me a comment. I want to hear what you have to say about all this, and I'll talk to you next time. Next time we'll be talking more about the learning framework some more. This is between my filming of resisting and observing, and it's going to now be more about testing. So think about that. Consider the learning framework, depending on when you're viewing this. Consider the learning framework as laid out and how this may apply to these ideas. Okay, I am going to stop recording now. I hope you have a good day.